We have prayed together, we have sung, we are ready. All there is left to do is begin. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know. Be still. Be. This is the desert bag. So many important and wonderful things happened in the desert. It is important for us to know what it is like. We can't get the whole desert in our church, so this is just a little piece of the desert. The desert is a dangerous place. It is always moving, so it is hard to know where you are. There's very little water in the desert. And if you are thirsty and cannot find water, you could die. Almost nothing grows in the desert, so there's almost nothing to eat. During the day, the sun scorches your skin, and at night it is cold. When the wind blows, the sand stings your skin. People wore many clothes to protect their skin from the sun and the blowing sand. The desert is a dangerous place. People do not go there unless they have to. When the flood was over, creatures went into the four directions to fill it with life again. They gathered along the rivers. First, they lived in villages and then in cities. One of the great ancient cities was Ur. People in Ur believed there were many different gods. There was a god for every flower, every rock, every tree. The world was alive with gods, gods of the waters, gods of the air, gods of the land. There was one family that believed that all of God was everywhere. They didn't know that yet, but that is what they believed. Abram was a part of that family. So was Sarai. When it came time to move to a new place, they were not sure if God would be there. They wondered what the new place would be like. They traveled with their many sheep and their donkeys, with their tents and their many helpers. The children and the old people traveled too. At night they stayed in their tents, and by day they followed the great river, the Euphrates. It showed them the way and gave them and their animals water to drink. It was a very long journey. And soon they met people coming from the city Haran. Their journey was almost over. Then they were there. Sometimes Abram would go to the edge of the desert and he would look out over the sand and into the sky. And God came so close to Abram, then Abram came so close to God that Abram knew what God wanted him to do. God wanted Abram and Sarai to go to a new place. God said, I will make of you a great family. I will bless you, and you will be a blessing. Abram and Sarai did what God wanted them to do. They traveled to a new place. This time, there was no river for them to follow and to provide water for them to drink. They traveled with their many helpers and their animals and their tents. They came to a place called Shechem, and there Abram climbed a hill and prayed, and God was there. So they built an altar to mark the place, for God was there. Soon it was time to move again to another new place. This time they arrived in Bethel. Abram climbed another hill and prayed, and God was there too. God was not just here or there, all of God was everywhere. And so they built an altar to mark this place. Soon it was time to move on. They traveled towards Hebron and made their home near the oaks of Mamre. Abram went to the edge of the desert and looked out over the sand and into the sky. Then God came so close to Abram, and Abram came so close to God that he knew what God wanted him to do. God was saying to Abram, I will make you the father of a great family, and Sarai will be the mother. This great family will number as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. Abram laughed. He and Sarai were too old. God's plan seemed impossible. God told them to change their name anyways. Abram would be called Abraham, the father of many, and Sarai would be called Sarah. One night, 3 strangers from the desert came to their tent. Sarah offered them 3 measures of flour, which was very generous. She gave them meat and bread to eat, and water and milk to drink, as was the custom. The strangers spoke with Abraham and told him that he was going to have a son. Sarah was close by and she laughed. They were too old. The strangers went on their way. And you know what happened? Abraham and Sarah had a child, and they laughed again. And so they named their son Laughter. And the word for laughter in their language is Isaac. When the boy was grown, Sarah was very old and full of years. She was very tired. Sarah died and was buried in a cave near the oaks of Mamre. Abraham was very lonely, but he knew there was one more thing he needed to do. He needed to find a wife for Isaac. Abraham sent his most trusted helper to the land where his people were from. There, the helper went to a well one evening, and a young woman was there who helped him to get water and to get water for his animals. Rebecca was as full of courage as she was kind. She invited the trusted helper to meet her family. The helper told Rebecca and her family about Abraham and Sarah and the great family. Rebecca decided she would like to be a part of that great family, and so they traveled past Shechem and Bethel, and when Isaac saw them coming, he ran out to meet them. Isaac and Rebekah were married. Now old Abraham was very old and full of years. He died, and he was buried with Sarah near the trees. Isaac and Rebekah had children, and those children had children, and those children had children, and this went on until your grandparents were born and had your parents, and then your parents got you. Now we are all a part of this great family that numbers as many as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand in the desert. Now I wonder what part of this story you like best. I wonder what part is the most important. I wonder where you are in this story, or what part is about you. I wonder if there is any part of this story we could take out and still have all the story we need. I wonder. Here is the altar that Abraham and Sarah built in Bethel. All of God was everywhere. And here is the altar they built in Shechem. The great city of Haran and Ur. The river Euphrates and the Tigris River. Rebecca and Isaac. And a piece of the desert.